Now, you mentioned Lil Wayne. I know that you guys were this close to signing Wayne. What happened with that deal? Because, I mean, they got to, I mean, Wayne was damn near saying he was Rockefeller, and then it just went left.
The truth is, it's the first time I ever told this truth. The truth is, after I had a meeting with Wayne, I had a relationship with Baby. So, I used to go to New Orleans. I would hang out with him. He had me in the purple little, whatever that car was. You remember them purple little cars?
The Prowler.
Prowler going down the street, no top. People trying to jump in the car.
Introduction. Lil Wayne and Jay-Z might not seem like the most obvious enemies in the rap world, especially given their collabs and public displays of respect. But lurking behind the headlines is a long simmering tension, one that's still alive and maybe about to blow up again. Why? Because Lil Wayne seems to have come across some explosive information that could flip everything we think we know about Jay-Z on its head. It starts out simple. Two hip-hop giants who both crave the same throne, but the deeper you dig, the more suspicious moves, hidden agendas, and personal vendettas you discover. Talk of blocked opportunities, carefully orchestrated revenge performances, and alleged behind-the-scenes sabotage all point to a rivalry that's bigger than any typical rap beef. And what Wayne knows might just be the final straw for Jay-Z's carefully cultivated image. Get comfortable, because this might change how you see both Lil Wayne and Jay-Z forever. From that infamous best rapper alive debate to surprising allegations that connect everyone from Nicki Minaj to Beyoncé, it's a saga with more twists than anyone could have imagined. So buckle up. This story is about to get wild.
Wayne, what you do to Super Bowl?
Duh, nigga.
I gotta ask. I'm just it's a question, Wayne. I know the answer, but I gotta ask you.
Of course, the Super Bowl is in New Orleans. I think it's in 2025 or something like that.
He doing it.
I'm not sure. I'm
Wayne,
not sure.
come on, man. Say
I'm
it,
not
Wayne.
sure what
Gotta
shit.
say it,
No, I don't. They know. I will not lie to you. I have not got a call.
Hey, Jay,
like
but I'm camera
so.
folk, Jay.
2. The spark that lit the rivalry. To understand how Lil Wayne and Jay-Z reached this bizarre point, we have to roll back the clock to when Wayne was hungry, fresh off Cash Money Records, and determined to wear the crown. Back then, Jay-Z was already a household name, often hailed as the undisputed king of hip-hop. The tension started the moment Wayne declared himself the best rapper alive, effectively challenging Jay-Z's own claim to that throne. The initial interactions between them were surprisingly friendly. Jay-Z reportedly welcomed Wayne to the big leagues, even offered some guidance. But everything changed around the mid-2000s, when Lil Wayne dropped a track literally called Best Rapper Alive. Word got around that Jay-Z, always proud of his own legacy, wasn't too thrilled by the younger MC's audacity. Jay-Z's response came through lyrics, not a press release. On his track Trouble, he took veiled shots at Wayne, basically saying, "Stay in your lane, young'un." He never used Wayne's name, but the hint was obvious enough that the hip-hop community knew exactly who he was calling out. Naturally, Lil Wayne, being the firebrand he was and still is, took offense. He fired back, though at first he tried to keep it playful. He even apologized at one point, claiming an interviewer cornered him into saying he was better than Jay-Z.
Possible, right?
That's untrue, because that's not true, because I don't write.
You don't write?
I just go in there and what I was feeling that day is how it goes.
Really?
Yeah.
And what do you just think of the beats, or you think of the song and then you just go?
There's always a different trigger, meaning sometimes it might be somebody else's song, it may be a feature. They already have their subject, so I just stick to the subject. If it's mine, if the music is what it is, I go off the music. If not, if I had a subject already on my mind, something that was bothering me, or some words that been rhyming too long and I didn't see a mic yet, there it is.
But the damage was done. Jay-Z, known for holding grudges like precious jewels, wasn't about to forget. Tensions threatened to blow up into a full-on war when Jay hopped on T.I.'s Watch What You Say to Me, spitting bars that seemed almost fatherly, as though schooling Wayne about stepping out of line. If you read between them, It was basically, I built this rap blueprint. Your music bears my DNA. Don't cross me. The sheer arrogance of that stance lit a fire under Wayne, who decided he wasn't going to let Jay-Z sun him in public. Yet, just when everyone expected an all-out lyrical slugfest, the feud fizzled. For a time, it looked like the hatchet was buried. Wayne and Jay performed together, complimented each other on stage, and even teased possible collaborations. Fans were left scratching their heads, wondering if the tension was just a publicity stunt that had quietly run its course. But this was far from over. Birdman, Lil Wayne's longtime mentor and the co-founder of Cash Money Records, threw fresh fuel on the fire. Birdman wasn't shy about proclaiming Wayne the greatest alive, and he was equally quick to call out Jay-Z by name. It might have seemed like Birdman was just bragging, but that's what finally pushed Jay-Z back into hostility mode. And the next chapter of this feud took on a whole new life. Still, the earliest sparks were always about respect. In a genre that thrives on competition, Wayne and Jay were bound to clash over who really deserves that Best Rapper Alive label. But that was just the first layer.
We out praying, we praying, we keeping our fingers crossed. I'm working hard. I'm gonna make sure this next album and everything I do is killer. So I'm gonna make it very hard for them I want to just make it hard for them not to holler at the boy.
As the years dragged on, their rivalry extended to business dealings, massive sums of money, and eventually some truly sinister allegations. Even though it began like typical rap bravado, the drama was merely starting. But the money feud that unfolded next? That's when things really got personal, and set the stage for some of the ugliest moments in modern hip-hop. 3. The Wealth Wars. It's one thing to debate who's the better lyricist, but in hip-hop, bragging about money can cut far deeper. After all, success in rap is often measured in both bars and bank accounts. This was never more obvious than when Birdman publicly stated he believed Lil Wayne was richer than Jay-Z, or at least more successful. With a net worth rumor swirling around Wayne, Birdman insisted Wayne was making more money, producing more hits, and dominating the culture in ways Jay-Z simply wasn't. Now, if you follow Jay-Z at all, you know referencing his money can be like poking a sleeping giant. Jay fired back on his track HAM with the iconic line, "I'm like really half a Billy. You got baby money?" The subtext was as subtle as a sledgehammer. He basically laughed off the idea that Wayne or Birdman could match his fortune.
So I felt it was only right to call him. I called them out of respect, like, yo, I was talking to Wayne, just letting you know, boom, boom, boom. So after that, I think we received a letter at our office for like torturous interference. Whoa. From a lawyer, and I was like, whoa.
Is it sports?
They do that? It was like, whoa. And it just all went from there.
A quick glance at the Forbes list had Jay's net worth towering over most artists in the industry, and he let them know it. Wayne initially tried to sidestep a direct confrontation. He confessed that competing financially with Jay-Z would be a losing game. "I can't box with a god," he admitted, but Wayne was never one to stay quiet for too long. On his track, It's Good, he lobbed one of the most controversial shots in the entire beef. Talking about baby money? I got your baby money. Kidnap your girl. Get that how much you love your lady money. It was a savage line, threatening Beyoncé by name, implying he'd test how much money Jay was truly willing to lose if push came to shove. That triggered another clapback from Jay-Z in La Familia, where he basically told Wayne to watch himself or risk needing more than lyrical skill to stay safe. It was the kind of back and forth that had fans enthralled, two rap titans trying to one-up each other with threats, achievements, and wealth. The tension felt real, like it could spark real-life consequences if it escalated any further. But then, just like before, the hostility vanished almost overnight. By 2015, Wayne joined Jay-Z's streaming platform Tidal, hinting that he might even sign with Roc Nation. From the outside looking in, it appeared that money could heal all wounds. Perhaps Wayne realized working with Jay might be more profitable than going to war with him. Or maybe Jay had decided that Wayne posed no real threat to his empire. Whatever the reason, the direct shots disappeared, and both sides seemed content to coexist. But the story didn't end there. Because soon, the scope of this rivalry grew beyond Wayne and Jay. It started pulling in Wayne's protégés, Drake and Nicki Minaj, who themselves became central to controversies that weirdly looped back to Jay-Z. The suggestion was that behind the scenes, Jay-Z had an interest in controlling the narrative of hip-hop. And when you saw how he maneuvered around Drake and Nicki, plus a certain Super Bowl fiasco, the evidence seemed impossible to ignore. And so the wealth wars gave way to something bigger and more complex, a tangled web of alliances, hidden agendas, and vendettas that threatened to overtake the original spat. By this point, money was just one factor. The real story was power, who had it, who wanted it, and how far they'd go to keep it. Allies in the crossfire. It's no secret that Lil Wayne's biggest triumph, besides his own career, is nurturing some of the most successful artists of this era, Drake and Nicki Minaj. Under Wayne's mentorship, they soared to the top of the charts, cementing Young Money Entertainment as one of the most formidable forces in hip-hop. But success breeds envy, and rumors began circulating that Jay-Z was quietly plotting to undermine Drake and Nicki. Why would Jay-Z even care about Drake or Nicki? Because both threatened his standing as rap's ultimate tastemaker. Drake shattered streaming records year after year, with many fans arguing he'd become an even bigger cultural force than Jay-Z ever was.
Is because I don't write, and what makes it so difficult is because I don't write it down. If you write it down, you get stuck to what's on the paper, and you'll remember it every time, just like school, just like a test. And, but because I don't write it down, I just go right there from there. I move on to the next song, which means I move on to the next thought. I forgot whatever the last song was about.
Meanwhile, Nicki Minaj dominated female rap, single-handedly redefining what it meant to be a female MC at a mainstream level. And in the background, you had Wayne, orchestrating it all from behind the scenes. Whispers swirled that Jay-Z wanted to keep the upper hand in music circles. Allegedly, he extended olive branches to them only when it served his interests, like cameo appearances or cosigns that boosted his brand. But privately, some claim he worked to push other artists who were signed or affiliated with Roc Nation to overshadow Drake and Nicki. This came to a head when people noticed a sudden surge in support for Megan Thee Stallion. Yes, Megan's talent is undeniable, but critics pointed out how Roc Nation's promotional machine seemed to be working overtime, favoring her in ways that overshadowed Nicki's legacy. Nicki, never one to stay quiet, hopped on social media, calling out the entire situation. In a now infamous tweet, she basically said Megan's relationship with Roc Nation gave her a false sense of power. She even targeted Roc Nation's CEO, Desiree Perez, by name, suggesting the label was shoving an inferior product down the public's throat just to dethrone Nicki. Nicki's anger boiled over on Instagram too, where she posted screenshots of what she claimed were heavily funded ads for Megan, ads she believed were artificially inflating numbers. According to Nicki, it wasn't about healthy competition, it was about systematically trying to erase her. She also threw out accusations that Roc Nation was sponsoring anti-Nicki social media campaigns, paying influencers to trash her name and prop up Megan's. It sounded wild, but to fans who'd seen the music industry's shady side, it wasn't too far-fetched. Meanwhile, Drake wasn't spared from the crossfire. Rumors flew that Jay-Z nudged Kendrick Lamar into beef with Drake, particularly around the time Kendrick dropped his fiery Control verse, calling out everyone in hip-hop. The idea was that Jay-Z, seeing Drake's unstoppable rise, wanted to keep him distracted. A well-timed lyrical battle with Kendrick would chip away at Drake's dominance, or so the conspiracy theory goes. Lil Wayne, always fiercely protective of his Young Money family, watched from the sidelines as Drake and Nicki struggled with behind-the-scenes politics. Fans who remembered the early Wayne-Jay feud couldn't help but notice the parallels. Jay-Z's pattern of undercutting threats to his legacy started to look too blatant to ignore. If he failed to out-rap them, he would outmaneuver them using business deals, strategic cosigns, and star-making machine tactics to elevate his own allies and sideline the competition. But even all that was still just the prelude to what many regard as Jay-Z's biggest chess move, the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show, set in Lil Wayne's hometown of New Orleans. If you recall, Wayne was the logical choice for that event. But what ultimately happened only cemented his suspicion that Jay-Z was determined to keep him, and by extension, Drake and Nicki, away from any stage that might threaten Jay's empire. The fifth Super Bowl freeze-out. When word got out that the 2025 Super Bowl would be in New Orleans, everyone naturally assumed Lil Wayne would be the top pick for the halftime show. His ties to NOLA run deep. He's practically the city's musical ambassador. Fans were thrilled at the idea. Sports analysts, local media, and gossip columns all pointed to Wayne as the obvious headliner. It made perfect sense. A hometown hero on the biggest stage in American sports? Slam dunk. But as the date crept closer, the official lineup was announced, and Lil Wayne's name was nowhere in sight. Instead, the NFL revealed that Kendrick Lamar would be the primary act. Immediately, eyebrows shot up. Of course, Kendrick's artistry and success are unquestionable, but why overlook the local legend? That question echoed across social media, talk shows, and casual conversations. It wasn't long before someone pointed out that Jay-Z had partnered with the NFL to curate their entertainment. Ever since that deal went public, Jay-Z had a hand in deciding who got center stage at the biggest sporting events in America. Many fans saw this as another shrewd power move by Jay, ensuring he could subtly reward or punish artists as he saw fit. To some, giving the show to Kendrick was a strategic slight against Wayne, who'd never quite bowed to Jay-Z's influence the way others had. Nicki Minaj, never shy about voicing her opinions, went nuclear on social media. In a tweet that quickly went viral, she called out Jay-Z for using the halftime show as a personal vendetta. She claimed that he was blocking Wayne's big moment because of old grudges, and she even hinted that the real targets were Wayne's alliances with Drake and herself. "You got everything in the world, still spiteful and evil," she wrote, essentially accusing Jay-Z of letting personal beef overshadow the culture. Fans were split. Some argued that Wayne being snubbed was just business. Maybe the league wanted a different vibe, or maybe scheduling issues came into play. Others believed it was a direct blow to Lil Wayne's legacy, orchestrated by Jay-Z to keep Wayne from receiving the universal acclaim a Super Bowl halftime show would bring. After all, getting that gig is a cultural milestone that can launch an artist to legendary status or reinforce their status if they're already an icon. Wayne himself kept quiet initially, which only fueled rumors. Insiders claimed he was furious but didn't want to burn bridges publicly. Not yet, anyway. Behind closed doors, he was said to be gathering information about Jay-Z's dealings, plotting a major payback. For someone who's never been shy about telling the world exactly how he feels, Wayne's silence spoke volumes. It suggested he was planning something deeper than a simple social media rant. By this time, the rivalry had become more layered than ever. It wasn't just about bars or the best rapper alive. It wasn't even about bragging rights over net worth. Now it was about power, manipulation, and legacy. How far would Jay-Z go to ensure no one overshadowed him? And how long would Lil Wayne put up with watching his own accomplishments minimized before he retaliated? The answers to those questions finally started to unravel when a bombshell lawsuit against Jay-Z emerged, revealing dark allegations that forced him into the legal spotlight. And that's when Lil Wayne decided it was time for him to strike back. Hard. 6. Controversies and accusations. For a while, it felt like Jay-Z had the upper hand. He had the NFL partnership, the Roc Nation empire, and a history of outmaneuvering anyone who challenged him. But then, everything changed when a shocking lawsuit surfaced, involving claims that a woman was assaulted by both Diddy and Jay-Z when she was only 13 years old. In an instant, Jay-Z found himself on the defensive, denying the accusations and scrambling to protect his reputation. Public reactions were split down the middle. Some felt the allegations were too serious to ignore, insisting they be thoroughly investigated. Others thought it might be a scheme to extort or tarnish one of hip-hop's biggest power players. But one thing was certain. The headlines were brutal, and Jay-Z was suddenly dealing with a PR crisis he couldn't just brush aside. Lil Wayne saw this as the perfect moment for his own revenge. After spending years allegedly watching Jay-Z sabotage everything from Wayne's personal career milestones to the careers of Drake and Nicki, Wayne was done playing nice. But it wasn't just petty payback. Wayne also claimed he had receipts regarding other shady behavior Jay-Z had participated in, particularly around Roc Nation and their tendency to cover up troubling incidents. Case in point, the high-profile clash between Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion. Tory publicly accused Roc Nation of strong-arm tactics, claiming they warned him to keep quiet about the real events leading up to a controversial shooting incident. Whether or not Tory was telling the truth is a whole separate debate, but the implication that Jay-Z's label might interfere with the legal process to protect its own interests was damning. Wayne seemed convinced that this was part of an ongoing pattern of Roc Nation sweeping inconvenient truths under the rug. Another case that surfaced? Allegations of Meek Mill abusing Nicki Minaj during their relationship. Though the pair broke up in 2017, Nicki later implied she was physically harmed, and she accused Meek of spitting on and even kicking her in front of his mother. Nicki never explicitly said Meek Mill abused me, but her cryptic comments pointed strongly in that direction. Then Meek sent Nicki a cease and desist letter trying to muzzle her from going into further detail. According to the rumor mill, Roc Nation was instrumental in shutting down Nicki's attempts to speak out in a more formal capacity, possibly to protect Meek, who was a key artist for them at the time. For Lil Wayne, all these incidents added up to a pattern. If you were valuable to Jay-Z's brand, you got shielded from negative press. If you threatened his brand, you got blacklisted. And with this new lawsuit implicating Jay-Z, Wayne finally felt like the tide was turning, that Jay was no longer untouchable in the court of public opinion. But the most disturbing allegations revolve around Jay-Z's supposed pattern of going after younger women. Wayne wasn't the only one who'd taken note of rumors that Jay had been involved with Beyoncé when she was still a teenager, or that he'd gotten uncomfortably close to Foxy Brown when she was around 15. Though Foxy herself has denied anything happened, the whispers lingered for years. And as soon as that lawsuit surfaced, Wayne started dropping hints that maybe the rumor mill had more truth than people realized. Still, Wayne hasn't gone fully public with these receipts, at least not yet. He's teased them. He's told people in the industry that he knows a lot more than he shared. Many believe he's waiting for the right moment, perhaps a moment when Jay-Z tries another sabotage tactic. Because if Wayne's truly sitting on incriminating evidence, releasing it at the peak of Jay-Z's vulnerability would be the ultimate revenge. But whether Wayne will actually drop that bombshell or just use it as leverage remains to be seen. All we know is that the power dynamic in this feud has shifted dramatically. No longer is Jay-Z simply the puppet master pulling strings from behind the scenes. Now he's under scrutiny, and Wayne is the one stirring the pot, threatening to spill secrets that could permanently change how we view hip-hop's self-proclaimed king. 7. Wayne's receipts. The idea that Lil Wayne possesses a hidden stash of receipts might sound like rap folklore, but insiders in the industry claim it's very real. After all, Wayne's been around since he was barely in his teens. He's seen the underbelly of the business, building relationships that transcend label lines. Over the years, he's likely gathered stories, documents, and possibly recordings that paint a darker picture of how power operates in the music world. And from what we're hearing, some of those receipts point squarely at Jay-Z. A few well-placed insiders suggest that Wayne's evidence covers everything from hush money payments to victims to confidential NDAs that revolve around hush-hush relationships. Rumor has it, Wayne even has details about the early dynamic between Jay-Z and Beyoncé, contradicting Jay's official timeline of how they met and when they began dating. If proven, it could turn Beyoncé's fairy tale love story into something far more unsettling. Then there's the matter of Foxy Brown, who publicly defended Jay-Z against rumors of assault when she was underage. Wayne, however, supposedly has reason to believe there's more to the story. He's hinted that certain files, old emails, old text messages, reveal a different version of events. Whether he's bluffing to rattle Jay-Z or genuinely holding a smoking gun is anybody's guess. But Wayne's confidence in letting these rumors float around makes it seem like he has something real. Another angle? The diaries and private testimonies of other Roc Nation affiliates who've since parted ways with Jay-Z. Some claim they saw hush deals that kept messy allegations from reaching the press. Others mention how women who complained about certain incidents were quietly paid off or threatened with legal action if they spoke out. Wayne, with his tight circle of industry connections, might have compiled these stories for years, waiting for the right moment. Jay-Z's brand has long been about control, controlling his music, controlling the narrative, and controlling his image as an almost mythical figure who rose from street hustler to billionaire mogul. If Wayne releases evidence that cracks that facade, it could change the trajectory of Jay-Z's legacy. At minimum, it forces fans and the public to question the carefully managed story Jay-Z's told about himself all these years. But there's a strategic element here, too. Wayne knows that once he releases whatever he has, there's no going back. He risks legal battles, potential blacklisting, and a scorched earth scenario in which Jay-Z uses every ounce of power to destroy Wayne's alliances in entertainment and beyond. Wayne might be strong, but Jay-Z commands an empire that stretches into sports, tech, and politics. So if Wayne chooses to press the nuclear button, it has to be for a reason so big that he can't ignore it any longer. For now, the receipts remain under wraps, only whispered about in cryptic references and half-confirmed leaks. Some fans are waiting breathlessly, believing Wayne is the hero who will expose the industry's darkest secrets. Others worry that Wayne could end up in way over his head, especially if what he reveals shakes up multi-million-dollar brands tied to Jay-Z's name. Either way, the tension has never been higher. People are already choosing sides, especially with the additional drama circling Nicki Minaj, Drake, Tory Lanez, and even smaller players who claim they were sidelined by Roc Nation. Jay-Z might have thought he'd surgically remove the Wayne threat by denying him the Super Bowl stage. But ironically, that might have been the final push Wayne needed to fight back and tip over the entire house of cards. Eighth conclusion. Looking at everything, from the best rapper alive drama to the alleged sabotage of Drake and Nicki, from the infamous Super Bowl snub to the bombshell lawsuit now dogging Jay-Z. One thing is clear. This feud goes far beyond music. At its core, it's about respect, power, and the lengths people will go to protect their legacy. On one side is Jay-Z, an icon who forged his name through lyrical genius and business acumen, building an empire that touches nearly every corner of pop culture. On the other side is Lil Wayne, a revolutionary MC in his own right, who carved out an entire generation of young money stars, and who's now threatening to blow the lid off some of Jay-Z's most closely guarded secrets. Will Wayne unleash the receipts that could shatter Jay-Z's pristine image? Will Jay-Z find a way to squash these rumors before they gain too much traction? And how might this ripple affect artists like Nicki Minaj, Drake, and even Megan Thee Stallion caught in the crossfire of Roc Nation's alleged power plays? No one knows for sure, but one thing's guaranteed. This saga is far from over. For years, Jay-Z seemed to hold all the cards, but now the deck may be stacked differently. Wayne's the wild card who's poised to change the game if he chooses to do so. Until that day comes, fans can only speculate on just how deep the rabbit hole goes, and whether the unstoppable force that is Jay-Z will finally meet an immovable object in Lil Wayne's stash of receipts. In the end, maybe this whole situation is a cautionary tale about the price of holding the crown in the hyper-competitive world of hip-hop. Because when you build an empire through sheer will and relentless ambition, there will always be someone equally driven, equally determined, ready to shake the foundations just to see it fall. And if Lil Wayne truly has what he claims to have, we might be on the brink of witnessing the biggest shift in hip-hop power since Jay-Z stepped onto the scene. Keep watching, because the next move could very well change everything we thought we knew about these legendary rap icons.